Alright, thank you so much for watching Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. I hope you can hear this. There we go. This is this live streaming that I do Sashiko stitching while I talk about Sashiko, the Japanese Sashiko stitching. I will accept questions if it's related to something Japanese culture, Japanese mindset. I try to not to answer any questions regarding to the techniques because first, those are pretty much already online, and second, I would like to focus on stitching. This is more like me stitching and you watch me stitching so you can learn, and I don't want to make it like a workshop at this moment. There's a workshop that you can take. So if you have any questions, I can navigate those questions to the existing YouTube videos, but sometimes please try to ask something more like history or Sakura. Sorry, the Sakura is here. The cat is here. Something like Sakura やめて. Sakura. Sakura. Sakura, no, 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 no. Yep, that. 桜違う、そっち違う。ほら、もうちゃんと爪引っかかっとるやん。爪が引っかかっとるやん。Alright, I will restart Sashiko stitching. There we go. I did not bring any topic to discuss, so I may be kind of quiet for the first few minutes. Or few. I'm trying to make the Sashiko Live more interactive by using the Zoom or the other apps. I'm still working on it, so that's another reason I do not do the live streaming on Instagram. Well, first, I cannot read the comments on the Instagram very well, so it's kind of difficult to maintain the good Sashiko Live there. But the second is that it is my goal to, enrich the content. So that's another reason that I'm doing the live stream on YouTube. So it's kind of quiet. The one reason that there are three reasons that I'm not speaking so much. Well, first, I didn't bring any topics to discuss today. It was very much the last moment to start the live streaming. I wasn't actually planning to do live streaming this afternoon, but I realized, well, probably today I can do it. It's snowing pretty badly in Pennsylvania right now, which means tomorrow will be a snow day that my daughter will be here. So I don't think I can work tomorrow. In that case, I can probably stay up late. So there we go, live streaming. So I didn't have enough time to prepare the topic to discuss, specific topic to discuss. That's why I am not talking a lot right now. And second of all, I am so sleepy. I am very sleepy. That's why I am. Well, it's not the best time. It's the Sunday after all of that. But I will find some topic to discuss. What is the good topic to discuss? What is the topic that... Hello, hello. Hello, thank you so much for coming to the live streaming. I think I have been hiding a lot of honest message on Instagram recently. It's kind of scary to say, but I get used to those harassment. That's kind of scary. Like I still get some, heartbeat, faster heartbeat, and I kind of feel, my breathing gets shorter. It's not a good feeling to have those harassment comments when I say something specific. But before, I was getting so damaged that I couldn't really do anything next day when I received those comments. Now I can. It's kind of scary that how people get so numb about the sort of the hatred. Like some people really don't like what I say because they think that I am destroying their freedom of art. Sure. Well, again, like those are the people who destroy the cultures. So I'm not really arguing with them. It's like sharing my opinion, not opinion, sharing my pain. And some people really don't like that. Do the end all get trimmed at once when the textile is done or left since they are on the wrong side? And I will trim all of the thread, so uh, it will be both side as the finished side. It will be how can I say, we can probably distinguish which is the front side and which is back side when we look at it closely, but by looking far, nobody will be able to distinguish which is the right side or wrong side. So yes, I will trim trim and clip all the thread hanging here or there after stitching and after some preparation before cutting. So no knots. This Sashiko stitching today does not have any knots. Knot? Like thread knot. I don't use any knot for this stitching. That's the thing, like, you can, of course, there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with using knot in Sashiko stitching. Some people say that the Sashiko shouldn't make any knot. Other people say Sashiko should make a knot. The answer is you can make knot. But the point is, like, can you not to make a knot and complete like I do right now? Some project requires both side as the finished side because that's how Sashiko was developed. They didn't have enough fabric to cover the back side, wrong side, messy side. So they developed this skill to make both sides neat by avoiding making knot. It is okay. It is okay to make a knot, but in my understanding, it is not okay to spread the information that Sashiko does not require. Sashiko does require knot. It's just the excuse that the person cannot do the Sashiko without knot. That doesn't mean that Sashiko does require the knot. Am I saying right? So look, this is the kind of my message. There's a big difference between don't and can't. If that the message or teaching is based on don't, that is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But if the teaching is based on can't, that's a very big problem, especially when they talk about the cultural practice. That's changing the culture. What they have to do is pretty much to learn. It's not that difficult to make no knots in Sashiko. I have all the videos, I have all the tips available online. So what they have to do, what you have to do is pretty much just watch it, try to do it. If you can do it, that's perfectly great. If you cannot do it, and if you, I mean, after you try and if you cannot do it, I teach online, so that's one thing you can do. Or you can keep trying. I just don't want anybody to repaint the culture based on can't. If it's don't, I'm perfectly fine. Because they can if they want to, right? That's the biggest difference. So please try to learn how to, well, of course you should make, I mean, you should learn how to make knot. It's, you know, sewing 101, so you should be able to make knot. At the same time, I want you to learn how to not to make knot and stop secure the stitching without the knot. Oops. I mean, Sashiko is super easy. It's very easy, and I don't really understand the people who teach Sashiko with very limited skill. Why don't they just learn? They need is just a few hours of learning. Yet they insist that their can't is right. I have no idea. I had a very good interview, phone interview, not even phone, it's more like a Zoom audio interview last night. It was very good. It was like a pre-interview of interview. She's a she's a daughter of my the people I respect to, so it was more like my pleasure to help her. But it is very interesting how culture are different between the Japanese and Americans when we talk about some cultural stuff. In the Western culture, we like I don't know if I can include myself, but we or people, Western people almost always look for the answer, like specific answer for the question. So for example, the question is, let's say the question is, what is Sashiko? They or we expect a simple one sentence answer saying Sashiko is ... That's more like a cultural thing, I guess, and it's very accurate for that. But sometimes we do not have that answer, especially I cannot answer what Sashiko is in one sentence because there are so many variations of the definition, and I don't want to make one solid definition. I can make my own definition, but I know that's not whole. It's just a part of it. So it is very interesting to understand the difference in culture to even define one word. That's why I don't want to define what Sashiko is without learning it. But it's very interesting. I got the question just a second. Is there reason to leave the loop up on the edge until the end? Or is that to keep all the finishing as the step at the end? If you're talking about the loop, please go to the upcyclestitches.com, and if you type Y loop, I probably explain the loop there. It's pretty much the insurance or some just in case, but there should be some article about the loops on the upcyclestitches.com. It's a very common, not a common question, it's like a very frequent asked question. I pretty much get it every time I do the live streaming. If you're like a repeater of this live streaming, you see probably less loops. I usually make a lot more loops than this stitching. And probably you know why I do not make so many loops on this one. There we go. Next line. This is quite big project. This is quite big project, and this requires about 1.5 to 2 skeins of thread, which is what? One skein is 150 meters. You need about 200 to 300 meters of skein. No. 200 or 300 meters of thread to complete this much stitching. So it's not that easy to do it. But many people finish it so fast. Like they're faster than like you will probably find my stitchings not so fast after learning how the other people stitch. I don't stitch as much as I would like to, so I'm the father of 5 years old, so yeah. Under COVID, I already have a job there. Hello, how are you? Thank you for coming to the live streaming. Oh, if you have any specific questions, I can answer now. Like, this is a good time to answer your, if you have any specific cultural questions. I didn't bring any topic. I should have brushed my teeth. It's kind of weird. Come on. By the way, I received your handwritten card the other day. Thank you so much for sending it. Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, my pleasure. I usually write our handwriting message to all of the order I receive. But I sometimes, like very occasionally, very rarely forget to include that. It's like, I make sure that I include all of the orders like I receive, right? Like I prepare orders by myself. That's my policy. I'm not gonna outsource anything. So when I prepare the order, I make sure that I include everything, double check, triple check with the paper. And I sometimes forget, very occasionally forget to include that note. So, yep, I usually try to send that later if I forget it. Although it's kind of creepy to send just a card. But that's what I do. That's how I do. Making a business bigger is not really my goal, for that matter. Knowing more people, knowing more people who will care, who would like to care, who like to learn about Sashiko is the goal of my business. So, of course, the goal is to make Sashiko more sustainable, Sashiko itself to be more sustainable. So I have to, of course, worry about the business itself, but at the same time, making the business bigger and then make it like if I hire somebody who doesn't care about Japanese sashiko and ask him or her to make the package, that's gonna ruin my pretty much whole concept. So we believe, like the Sashiko believes, Sashiko is based in Japanese animism, part of it, little bit. And the Japanese animism believe that everything has the spirit in it. So I believe that even a package has a spirit in it, even for a little bit of time. And some people think it's just bullshit. Probably some people think it's not really important. But as long as I share Japanese sashiko, it's probably something I'd like to take care. Oh, it's like this is a very random question. So when I do the live streaming in Japanese, I decided I do not make any background music. In English, would you like to have one, or like complete silence is actually good? I tried to have the background music once, but they kind of didn't like it. The Japanese viewers didn't like it very much because it kind of erased the sounds of fabric. I kind of enjoy the sounds of fabric too. So this sound, it's the sound of thread going through the fabric. Many people like that sound, and the BG background music can eliminate those sounds. So, but at the same time, complete silence is kind of sometimes quite scary. So I will try to find the best solution. What kind of fabric is that you're working with? This is the indigo cotton fabric I introduce on my website a lot. It's not the traditional authentic indigo dye, but this is so far the best cotton fabric for Sashiko stitching. It's just simply easy to stitch and very enjoyable. It's pretty much the one kind of fabric I sell on my website as well. It's really nice fabric to practice, enjoy, and feel rhythm. I'm not really particular about the fabric. The thread matters. The thread is very, very, very important. So I ask pretty much everybody to use the thread I use, especially if they want to make this Sashiko stitching like us. The thread makes a huge difference. Fabric is of course important, but not as much as the thread. So ultimately speaking, any fabric is fine. There's a preference. I do not like stretchy fabric, like t-shirt is one horrible material to do Sashiko stitching. But it doesn't mean that they cannot do it. That's okay. Well, probably if they do the running stitch, that's quite horribly difficult to do it. But the result is not gonna be that horrible if you use the good thread. But there are several fabric that very good for Sashiko. Well, not like good in terms of quality. It is a good quality, but more like it's a it's very uh, adaptable, not adaptable, appropriate fabric to enjoy Sashiko. This is not as thick as canvas, but it is pretty thick fabric. I have done the Sashiko stitching on canvas, but that's not a good idea. Well, it's doable, but I do not recommend it. It's a lot of pain to do it, but it's doable. Fabric is, well, I don't have to be particular about the fabric. I enjoy the Sashiko on denim, and any kind of denim is fine for that matter. Some denims are easier, some denims are more difficult, but thread is the key though. First thread, second needle, third fabric or thimble. Well, thimble is very much the preference. Some people like the leather, some people like metal. But thread and then needle, those two are very important in making Sashiko stitching beautiful. In Japanese saying, they say that the true master do not pick the tool. They can do the masterful job no matter what kind of tools they use. And that's probably very true. But that's not really true in Sashiko, and I'm not a master for that matter, so I would like to use whatever the best we can use. Probably if I do this one for another 50 years, I can say that it doesn't matter what kind of thread I use. But as of now, it does. Yeah, canvas is kind of difficult to stitch with. What is this? Why is my nails coming off? Many people start sashiko with the sarashi fabric, the Japanese. It's cotton. It's thin cotton fabric with a white gauze kind of fabric. It's good. It's good fabric to start, but I recommend if if anybody asks me for the recommendation for the fabric, this is the fabric I recommend. It's woven in Japan. Uh, it's simply the easiest fabric that I can stitch, and not only me or not only us that we like stitching. There are many friends or students who comes back to this fabric. I mean, it's just simply enjoyable to stitch with. God, it has been already 30 minutes? Wow. So I have not been, I haven't done any filming, like any video making the last couple of months. I really have to restart it. Like I really have to do it. Like I only do live streaming right now, and I know that there are a lot of things I have to update. Videos, Sashiko stories. I almost only focus on Instagram and Facebook now. I have so many messages that I would like to share, and I end up with writing more instead of making more videos. So if you are new to Sashiko and if you do not know my account, please follow our account Instagram sashi.co. This is almost the same account name. I try to share as many stories as possible there. Some stories might not be comfortable to read because I sometimes say pretty strong statement, but it is a good source to learn what Sashiko really is for you, for the other Japanese people. And I probably, if my goal is to spread those voices, I probably should make more videos. And I probably should work on that. Even like, not like specific video that I spend so much time on editing, more like a video or message videos that I make. It's like a vlog or something like that. I know there's a need there. And I don't know, I think I'm too stubborn to start something new. Oops, is my hands there? Yeah. So when we get tired, where our bodies start moving strange in a different form, right? So when I get tired, my elbows start going down and touching the table, and that's not a good sign. That's probably the time I should stop stitching. But I'll keep a little bit going, another 15 minutes or so. The reason I should stop when my arm gets tired and start touching the table is that it's gonna damage the back or neck, and the muscles start soring. Some people say that the more they do sashiko, they get some pain around the body, neck, shoulder, back. Um, technically speaking, if when we do the sashiko stitching in a healthy format, healthy condition, those pains shouldn't happen. I could do it for 24 hours when I was ready to do it, because my tiring of the hand, my tiredness of the hands are not coming from the Sashiko stitching. It's pretty much the whole day today of cooking, cleaning, playing with my daughter. So Sashiko stitching shouldn't make your hands tired. As the proof, I have done 24 hours of Sashiko stitching, and it should be somewhere on the archive. So it is really important to learn the posture. Although Sashiko is just merely stitching, I always start teaching Sashiko with teaching the posture. So it's really Japanese, but it's really important to learn that. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming. Whew. Okay, one more line and I will end for tonight. Wow, has been almost 30 minutes? Wow, more than 30 minutes. Hey, yay. Time flies. The Sashiko eats a lot of time, so be careful with that. It's most like endless. Like if I start doing Sashiko at night, you will probably stay up late. Even now, I should probably start getting ready to go to sleep, but I kind of wanted to finish this much at least. I'm getting so sleepy. I'm sorry. I should really find time to do the live streaming during the day so I can talk more, I can be more energetic. 11 o'clock at night on Sunday, expecting to be snow day tomorrow, is not the best day to start do the Sashiko live streaming, but again, like I don't have the other time slot as of now. I will find time to do it, and I try to find time to make the live, not a live stream, more like creating the videos. So after COVID, life gets so busy, but I don't want to be that busy because in Japanese word, busy means losing the mind, losing the heart. I don't really want to do that, but it is actually that. So. Tired stream is better than no stream. that makes my day. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you. Wow, that's a very good saying. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now I may be able to go another. That makes me wanna go another line. Thank you. Tired stream is better than no stream. I love it. If everybody can listen to my live streaming like that, that's perfectly great. But sometimes people expect more. They complain. They say like, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna Like, we live in such an interesting world that you can complain about anything, right? So people really complain. They really complain, and I'm very surprised. And it's kind of fun though. It's really fun to see that people complain for nothing, but they complain. So it's really good to hear that tired streaming is better than no streaming. Don't hurt yourself though if your area are going sore, getting sore. Oh, it's not because of my stitching. It doesn't change anything. It's pretty much cooking 3 pounds of chicken, deep frying them tonight. So, I mean, I made a fried chicken tonight for the dinner, and some of them are gonna go to frozen free. I'm gonna freeze some of those. My wife is sort of vegan, sort of vegetarian. Well, used to be vegan. She's okay with some dairy food, but she doesn't like me cooking chicken because the kitchen is gonna get some chicken and blah blah blah. So I tried to make as much as I try to make as much meat dishes as I can in one cooking and try to freeze them. After this live streaming, I'll practice a machine. Please do so. Or even right now, while you watch it. See, I started again. I said that I will finish the live streaming after this much thread, but another thread. Wow, I love that phrase. Thank you so much. That made my day. I mean, that the phrase "tired streaming is better than no streaming" made today's streaming. Thank you so much. I will finish after this much, but wow. I sometimes wonder if we live in the same world. There are people who complains no matter what, and there are people who appreciate no matter what. Look, there are people who try to kind of harass me no matter what. Like they want to just leave the negative comments on what I say. I feel like we don't even talk the same language. Well, I guess that's what the internet is all about. I used to be discouraged by those comments and those, complaints. I became stronger or I became numb. Such a world we live in. I am naive. I probably shouldn't say it by myself, but I'm naive and I'm very easy to get hurt. Sentimental? No. How do you call that? Easy to be broken. But I'm really getting stronger for that matter. The internet shakes head. internet. I am working on Sashiko sampler and I'm so inspired by that pin cushion. I think that might be what it's become now. That's good, that's good. It's cute. I mean, everything is Sashiko around me, like it or not. I like it now, but I used to hate it. But that's my life. There were some people kind of not accused me, but some people questioned me like, how could one person say that Sashiko is the identity of somebody? Well, for that kind of person, probably Sashiko is just a hobby. But since Sashiko is a Japanese stitching culture, there are few people who happen to be born in that culture, like or not. I didn't like it. I didn't like this fate. But I happened to be there. I happened to see Sashiko before I see what? Somebody's, like my uncle's face. That's how horrible it is. Come on, like before my uncle comes from his school when I was born, I was already looking at Sashiko. Like I really hope that I look at my mother's face before Sashiko or my father's face. But that's how close Sashiko was to me, and how is it not my identity? I don't know. Well, we have to start from defining what identity is. This has been sweet and compassionate as always. Good to hear you laugh about time. Yep, thank you. Thank you so much for your. I didn't know you were there. Sharon, thank you so much. Your work is beautiful. Thank you for the live streaming. So we can see the process my first time watching. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, I teach Sashiko, but at the same times I want to offer the kind of original scenery of Sashiko stitching. I was not taught. Nobody taught me Sashiko. The teaching style I established is pretty much from my experience, not somebody's copying. But that's what Japanese culture is about. When you learn something, you do not really take lessons or go to school. You learn from somebody doing it. And I think Sashiko is like that too. But it can take like years or sometimes more than 10 years to get the core. And I don't want to go through 10 years or 20 years like I did. That's why I offered online class. At the same time, it is important for me to share the original view as my artisans did to me. This live streaming is a try for that, because of the internet. Like this is the good part of the internet. I talked about the bad part of the internet, but the good part of the internet is that I can be somebody's grandma. Not a grandma, I'm sorry. I can be somebody's, well, it's a grandma stitching. Sashiko is a grandma stitching, and I should be the granddaughter to learn. Anyway, I can be that kind of person, not a grandma. Has to be grandma. Doesn't have to be grandma, but I can be that grandma to share some of the wisdom, some of the techniques, some of the stitching with somebody who is interested, who happened to be there. That who happened to be there is you. This is exactly how I learned Sashiko. Somebody complaining about something while they're stitching, I had to listen to their complaining. Like I complain about the internet, how people can be so extreme. They kept stitching. I was supposed to learn. I was supposed to also stitch like they did. I tried to learn from them stitching. Yeah. It's very inefficient. But I mean, it is very inefficient, and there should be some school or some training camp if the goal is to master the technique. I can guarantee that anybody can be as good as I am if they spend 2 weeks in the camp with me. I can pretty much guarantee that. But that doesn't really translate what Sashiko is fully. And that's why I kind of offer the live streaming as well. It feels like an apprenticeship and more tender than a class. Yep. Well, I wouldn't call apprenticeship because apprentice remind me of Donald Trump. That's my problem. That's not your problem. That's my problem. But there was a TV drama, not a TV drama, TV reality show. I love that show, by the way. I appreciate the practice of apprenticeship, even virtual apprenticeship. It feels like something very human. Mentorship, well, friendship is good. No, oh my, wait. Probably Sharon is tired of me saying that, but I kind of take it as the friendship. I learned from you, share something. I mean, of course, apprenticeship is good. Apprenticeship is very great. I feel very much respected and I appreciate it. But I don't think that a daughter or granddaughter or younger generation saw the grandma or grandpa as the mentor or master. They were just there, like me. I was just there. I just happened to be born in that community. I was there. I respected them very much, but at the same time, I don't think I would call that apprenticeship. So it's kind of difficult to define, but what I would like to make is the place of like this community that I share something and people can get together, learn by watching, or if this can be more like a Zoom meeting, that's much better. But it's gonna require a lot of preparation, a lot of filtering, because I don't want to have somebody who can destroy that community. It's easy to destroy it. It's very difficult to make, but it's easy to destroy that. So I have to be very careful. So what I want to make is more like a community of friends who can appreciate or respect each other, not one way, each other. So, well, I will find out the word. It's pretty much my problem. It's not your problem. It's more like my understanding of English is really limited. And Sharon is correct. Sharon is correct. The apprenticeship, in my understanding, in Japanese culture is quite strong. So when we talk about apprenticeship in Japanese culture, one pretty much has to give up everything. Let's say if you want to be my apprentice in Japanese culture, the person has to come to my house, live in my house, do the house chores for me. Then in the small time of those breaks, they can look at what I do. That'd be fantastic, but I feel so bad doing that because I'm not from that kind of culture. But let's say if you want to be a sushi chef in the traditional way, that's something you have to do probably. You have to go to the sushi restaurant, you live there, you might get some little tiny allowance every month. but you probably will not be able to be in the kitchen for the first 3 years or something like that. You have to clean the store, greet to the customers for the first 2 or 3 years. Then finally you can wash the dishes so that you can watch the chef cutting the fish very closely. That's how messed up the Japanese culture is, or apprenticeship is. Some people like it, some people think it's very inefficient. I understand both ways. That's how it was, how it is. And I don't think Sashiko is the category of that. That's why I kind of said like, apprenticeship is a little bit different word for me, but I understand. I understand the understanding of the apprenticeship in English. So if you think this is the apprenticeship, that's perfectly fine with me. Okay. Either way. Okay, let me catch up some comments. No, I will show you the front side. Soon. I wouldn't call grandparents an apprenticeship. That's more formal teaching, but I do think of them as mentors. They pass the knowledge. Yes, so that's probably mentor is a better word, but at the same time, the grandparents are grandparents too, so it's grandparents. So you can think of me anything. I just don't want to be somebody. Some people judge me as the arrogant person. It's perfectly fine. That's their perception. But at the same time, I don't want to act like a teacher who keeps saying respect me. I want you to respect the Japanese culture, not me. You can, of course, respect me. Thank you so much. But that's not what I'm asking. Please respect the Japanese people culture behind this Sashiko. Doesn't have to be me. When I practice unshin alone, my stitches don't look very beautiful and don't look fun. But when you were together, the practice went well and it was fun. That's very core of Sashiko stitching. That's very what Lily wrote down is very core um, of Sashiko. I think there's no documents left, but I think the Japanese people practice Sashiko in a group in a small village. Of course, they had to stitch by themselves at night, or if they had to practice Sashiko every day, they of course had time to practice every single day. But also they wanted to enjoy the time together. So it's a combination. If you can stitch with somebody, that's great. At the same time, if you are going to stitch by yourself, if you could feel somebody is right next to you or somebody is stitching with you somewhere over the internet or over the world, that will change it. So that's pretty much the concept I would like to pass down, the sense of the community. This is a community I'm trying to make. The live streaming is one way to make a community, but at the same time, by knowing that you have a lot of friends who share the same idea of Sashiko or culture of Sashiko, you are not alone. That's kind of the message I would like to share, because I felt alone. So I was so lonely until 2015, 2013, 2011. So it is very good step to feel that if you're stitching by yourself, the stitches don't go well. If you're stitching with somebody else, your stitches go well. It's a very good step to be a good Sashiko stitcher. Next step is that you probably can feel the somebody when you stitch. that somebody can be your friend over the internet, can be some friend in your real life, somebody, family you have right next to you, maybe your husband, wife who doesn't stop talking or who doesn't listen at all, or somebody who existed in your life in the past, or somebody you don't even know but existed in the past who stitched Sashiko. So it's like all linked somehow. And wow, Sharon, your summary is so good. And this running stitch, we call it unshin, is the method to connect the dot. Because when we do unshin, we don't think. Do you think? We don't. When we stitch like I do I think how those each stitches should be this size or rice grain size? I don't. If I think, I wouldn't be able to talk like this. Instead, I just keep moving as my hands go. And in those moments when I talk, I focus on talking. But when I don't talk, I try to feel or watch TV and let it feel. I think that's the kind of the wow, today's live streaming is kind of good. This is the part that I am trying to verbalize what is more than stitching. My message is always Sashiko is more than stitching. It is very, how can I say, spooky or funny or kind of eccentric to describe this with word. That's why I try to even not, I even do not try to explain that in words. But I think Sashiko played a role in the community of connecting those dots. There were no cell phone, there were no internet, there were no TV, but no human wants to be alone completely. They sometimes enjoy the time by themselves. They like to be alone sometimes, but they all need a connection somewhere. Those connection, we call it the place to belong to, the community. I think Sashiko may be the key to connect those dots. And the comments by Lily saying that she enjoys Sashiko's unshin more when she's with the others, and Sharon saying that allow the unshin will allow us to connect each other is probably it's the it's the ultimate message that I would like to pass down to the next generation, which I finally said it. Thank you so much for helping me to verbalize it. God, sleepiness can do a lot of things. I didn't stitch. I'm sorry, I should have stitched, but that's the message. Okay, it's a beautiful time, but I think I should go to sleep because it's Sunday. It's what? It's 11:30 in Eastern time. So I will come back. I should have done this one like a long time ago, but this explains how less I stitch actually. But this is my goal, to finish as soon as I can. Somebody finish it like Sharon did, and there are many people who finished this, although they started after I did. So I gotta catch up. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this Sashiko Live Streaming, and I will come back next, I would like to say next weekend, but I will try to come online more casually, without planning, without stressing out. Like sometimes the live streaming becomes this beautiful without even trying to make it beautiful. So, alright, thank you so much. I will see you soon. Have a good night. Bye bye.